Smashed cakes are popular for first birthday celebrations, and these little cakes are perfect for small gatherings too. They're easier than you think to make, and I'll show you how to make them with and without tools like a turntable and cake comb or frosting smoother. First, bake your smashed cake layers, which are typically 4 or 6 inches, but you can use the techniques I show you in this tutorial for any size cake. Prepare your smashed cake layers by letting them cool completely, which takes about 2 hours, and then if you want, if there are domed tops, you can level them by trimming them with a serrated knife, like a bread knife. For the easiest assembly and the best results with frosting, wrap these in cling film or plastic wrap and put them in the fridge for about an hour, so that they chill. You can assemble a smashed cake on a plate, or I'll show you how to do it on a cake board next. Always use a dot of buttercream on your plate or cake board and push your first cake layer down onto it, and it acts like glue to hold the cake in place so it doesn't slide around. For the filling on this cake, I'm using my 4 Minute Buttercream, adding melted chocolate chips to make it chocolate, but you can use jam, caramel, Nutella, lemon curd, whatever you like. Put your top layer upside down so that the part that was on the bottom of the cake pan is facing upwards for the flattest top to your cake. If you're making your cake on a cake board, which is the best option if you want smooth frosting, you'll also need a dot of buttercream to attach that first cake layer. You can apply filling with a spoon or with an offset spatula. Just make sure it's level so that your cake is straight and not leaning to one side. After assembling your cake before frosting it, it's best to chill it in the fridge for about 30 minutes, which means fewer crumbs and less wobbling. It's best to do a first layer of frosting called a crumb coat, which is a really thin layer of frosting which traps in any crumbs that come off the cake, so that they don't get into your final layer of frosting. I like to cover the top of the cake first, then spread the frosting from side to side, all the way from the top of the cake down to the bottom of the cake to the cake board, so that there's no exposed cake. And this way, this layer of frosting will trap in every crumb that comes off the cake. Hold your offset spatula against the side of the cake and spin your turntable to smooth the frosting on the sides of the cake, but don't worry about getting it perfectly smooth because you are going to cover up this layer. For the top edge, swipe sideways with your offset spatula to take off that uneven top edge and lift it off the cake with your offset spatula. Scrape it back into your bowl before each next swipe. Then chill the cake before doing the final coat. After being in the fridge for about 30 minutes, the crumb coat will have set, which means it's firm instead of sticky. Now it's time for the final layer of frosting. I like to put the frosting on the top of the cake first, spreading it all over the cake so that it sticks out over the sides, which will give you nice sharp angles later. Spin the cake with your offset spatula at a 45-degree angle, and that will give you a nice level, smooth top. Then do the sides of the cake. You're aiming for 2 things here. First, you want to completely cover up the crumb coat so you don't see any of it. And secondly, you want to spread the frosting so that it's all about the same thickness. So after covering the whole cake, take a look, and if any of the frosting looks shallower or thinner, spread a little bit more over those areas. Next, you would typically use a cake comb to smooth the frosting, but if you don't have one, you can use a ruler. Press the base of the ruler down on the cake board, and then with your left hand, or your non-dominant hand, start spinning the turntable as you push the ruler into the side of the frosting. And hold that ruler still as you spin the cake on the turntable, so that the turntable is doing all of the work for you. When you've gone as far as you can, swipe the ruler off, and then use your offset spatula to scrape any frosting off the ruler, so that it's clean. And then repeat. After scraping around the cake a few times, you'll notice some indents, or air pockets, or gaps in the frosting. Use your offset spatula to scoop up some frosting and spread it over those indents, and then scrape around again. Once your frosting is smooth, use your offset spatula to swipe sideways over that top edge of the cake, and after each time you swipe, scrape the frosting back into your bowl and wipe your offset spatula clean on a towel or paper towel so that it's perfectly clean before you swipe again. Now you have smooth sides on the cake and a sharp edge from the sides onto the top of the cake. I'll show you some decoration ideas in a minute, but now I want to show you how to do this with a cake comb, using pink frosting for my next cake. Notice that I'm using a tiny drop of gel colour to get a really nice shade of pink. Gel colours are very concentrated, so you only need a tiny amount to get really bright and bold colours. Just like for the previous cake, I'm covering my cake with frosting all over the top and the sides, but then instead of using a ruler, I'm using a cake comb. Press the base of the cake comb down on the cake board, with the straight edge a little bit away from the side of the cake. Start spinning the turntable and move that sharp edge slowly towards the cake, and the straight edge will take off all of the excess frosting, leaving a smooth layer behind. After a few scrapes, touch up any imperfections by spreading more frosting onto those areas and then scrape again and again until the frosting is smooth. Use your offset spatula to tidy up the top edge and ta-da! If you don't have a cake comb, a cake board, or a turntable, you can just use a plate and a spoon to decorate your cake. Spoon some frosting onto the top of the cake and spread it over the top just like you would with an offset spatula so that it covers the top surface and also sticks out over the edge of the cake. Then scoop up more frosting and spread it around the sides of the cake. Don't worry about getting this neat at all at the moment. The only goal is to completely cover the cake with frosting. The best way to get the frosting onto the cake is with little circular motions, which pushes the frosting onto the cake so it sticks without pulling off crumbs or chunks of cake with it when you swipe the spoon away. When the cake is totally covered with frosting on the top and the sides, use a paper towel or a towel wrapped around your finger to wipe around the edge of the cake to take any frosting smudges off the cake. Now to tidy up this frosting, dip your spoon into a cup of hot water, which will heat the metal. Now create some texture in the cake by moving your spoon in little arcs around the frosting, and because the metal of the spoon is hot, it will smooth out the frosting as you do this, getting rid of any air pockets and leaving it silky and beautiful. This frosting is definitely not smooth, but the texture adds lots of detail and interest to the cake. Now let's look at some ways to decorate smash cakes. You can create gorgeous rustic texture with your offset spatula or even a spoon by pushing it gently into the frosting at the bottom of the cake and spinning the cake. Your spoon or offset spatula will leave a groove in the cake, and as you gradually drag it upwards, the grooves will continue upwards, creating this gorgeous texture all over the cake. Whenever you notice frosting building up on your offset spatula or spoon, scrape off the excess into a bowl, and then continue. You can leave the top edge of the cake uneven like this, which is gorgeous, or you can smooth it out to make it neater. If you want to add some height to your cake, you can pipe some swirls, and all you need for this is a star-shaped tip, like a 1M tip. Drop it into a piping bag, and if you haven't used this piping bag before, you'll need to cut it. If you cut it at the top of the tip won't be able to fit through that hole, so instead, push the tip back a little bit, cut about halfway up where the tip was, and then push the tip back down. Spoon a little bit of frosting into the piping bag, you don't need much, and then push that frosting all the way down to the bottom of the bag. Twist it to push the buttercream down against the piping tip, and that will mean you need hardly any pressure to squeeze the frosting out of the piping bag. Hold the piping tip above your cake, squeeze the bag, and pipe in circular motions to create swirls on top of the cake. At the top of each one, I like to push down slightly before releasing my pressure, and then lift the bag up, and that leaves a nice neat peak on the top of each swirl. Finally, the easiest way to decorate a cake is with some sprinkles. It's best to do this just after frosting your cake, while the frosting is still soft and sticky so that the sprinkles stick to it, because if you wait until the frosting sets, the sprinkles will bounce straight off the cake. Now it's time to serve your smash cake. You can slice these like any other cake for small portions, which is perfect for a small gathering, or you can dig into them with a fork, maybe for a couple's anniversary celebration. Or if you're following the smash cake trend, you give the cake to a baby on their first birthday and let them smash it. I hope this tutorial has been useful. Please ask me any questions you have in the comments, subscribe to my channel, and visit my cake school on BritishGirlBakes.com. Thanks for watching.